At the heart of our latest Zoom Racing League action, we have the mesmeric Mexico City, the Autodromo Hermanos Rodriguez that was revived to the Formula One calendar in 2015, racing around some of the most famous Mexican tarmac for the first time since 1992 was a treat, and it remains still in 2022. Welcome to yet another edition of Zoom Racing League, where attributes, abilities are tested and presented in a jaw-dropping way. So, we are following the common format of Zoom Racing League this week. As with most weeks, we are enjoying an 18-minute qualifying session to determine the grid for the Mexico City Grand Prix, which will be a 36 lap Grand Prix, which should be telling tales of pure drama. So now we have our drivers out on track, including that of Logan and Drunk X Sigs, both Hasses, taking to the track. As you can see there, Drunk X Sigs running wide and, well, cutting the track, but there's no such bother as now Dublin leaves the session, and that's going to be bother for the championship leader. So then, the drivers on their outflaps, ready to get their tyres up to temperature, ready to just get themselves in the zone, ready to deliver their first hand in qualifying. Let's cut to Logan then, who is going to be the first driver to take us on a tour of the Autodromo Hermanos Rodriguez for the Mexico City Grand Prix. Logan charging down the start-finish straight. It's such a long run to turn one, the longest of the season. He's going to flick the front end of that Haas car in to turn one. Quickly followed by turn 2 and turn 3, puts down the power, opens DRS, and marching on towards turn 4, where we saw Lewis Hamilton and Fernando Alonso duel in 2017. But Logan seeming super smooth at the moment. Will he be rewarded with a promising lap? He runs wide there through the exit of turn 6, the double apex. Turn 6. He's still on the road now as we have yellow flags out on track. That's because Marino in the McLaren has ground to a halt, but we rejoin Logan as he completes the first 2/3 of his lap into the stadium section now, into the forest. Is it Forest Soul? But through the tight and twisty nature of this track, he is now going to arrive at the Perel Targa. Puts down the power through the final apex of this track and brings about a lap time of a 1:17.950. His teammate Drunk X6 is a second down on him. Meanwhile, we have Tom Clark out on track in the Williams, setting the quickest first sector we have seen so far. Heist XL in the McLaren climbing to the top of the timesheet on a 1:17.6. He is just shy of 3/10 ahead of Logan. Dravaspor then in the Aston Martin into the final sector now, running rather wide through the exit of turn 12. A little bit of understeer there in the Aston Martin, but through the final corner now as again he goes in quite deep. The rear end not really complying, but he brings himself to the front row, just over a quarter of a second behind Heist XL. Technic Speedy by over a second, setting a blistering means of speed early on in this qualifying session. A 1:16.549 is now the time to beat. Marino on a lap, Rigraff on a lap, the Alfa Romeo through the final turn now. Where is he going to climb up to? P6 is where he is for the moment, as Dublin either glitching there or he's really struggling with the rear end as his teammate Wild getting in the way of Labib 12. That is going to thwart the Alfa Romeo's attempts. Nonetheless, he provisionally is on the front row, so that may trouble him more, but that is a troublesome, and not only troublesome, but a disastrous moment for Technic Speedy, who set the speed, set a scintillating lap, but has motioned into the wall and out of qualifying. The AlphaTauri taking an unwanted turn, looking imperious, looking impervious. Well, that's no longer as Max Bell now displaces the AlphaTauri. My oh my, that is a twist. A teasing, trembling twist on this Mexico City tarmac as Leo Kreitis throwing his lap away, while now in the Red Bull, who came to blows just a few moments ago with Labide 12. Doesn't seem like he's publishing the strongest times through the first two sectors compared to his competitors. But Dublin now, his Wiles teammate, who can see there that he's losing the rear slightly through the S's section. He is glitching, admittedly. That's going to be far from a slice of help, but into the stadium section now, the Red Bull, the championship leader, who looks to strengthen his advantage. It seems a really messy and tardy lap there. Having said that, he is going to come round the final corner. He does go to the top of the timesheets. Now this glitching is kind of deceiving us, so he has published the pace early on with Max Bell now nestling in behind him. That is rather confusing. Cushy now on an out lap, Leo Kreitis on a push lap, Zux in the Aston Martin on a push lap, adorning his credentials with a Sebastian Vettel helmet, and Cushy not at all adorning his credentials, losing the rear seemingly through the exit of turn 6. But the Aston Martin of Zux then into the final few turns seems to be gathering an awful lot of understeer going into turn 13, approaching the Peraltada now, and he is going to come into the pits then. So we have Tom Clark in the Williams on an out lap. We have Weil with an invalidated lap time. So early on, it is Dublin, the championship leader, setting the pace. It's Matt Vell running him close. It was Technic Speedy who was setting the pace, but his absence for the remainder of this qualifying session is going to be gut-wrenching there for the AlphaTauri. Leo Kreitis through the first sector, improving and noticeably into the double apex turn 6. He now arrives to the tricky S's section, where you flick the front end in, where you hope the rear end will comply. The prancing horse seems a majestic sight, and through the first two sectors, as much as it looks quick, it's not an improvement for the moment for the Ferrari, which is bedecked in history. It's in shelving its roots with Modena yellow growing very large on the liveries. Dublin has now been disqualified from qualifying due to, well, a parking infringement. So the man that was on pole position and the man that looked to ooze dominance once more, this time around the Autodromo Hermanos Rodriguez, will be starting from the back row. This is yet another turn in this qualifying session. Max Bell is handed over the reins of pole position, but his competitors are lurking by the wayside. Heist Excel improving by 19 milliseconds through the first third of the lap. We have Cushy. Seems, well, he's just improved to P5, so I wouldn't expect him to improve on this tour. But Matt Bell, our new provisional pole sitter, through the first three corners of the track with the rear end getting oh so loose. That's going to curtail his exit. That is going to hinder him down this straight, and it's noticeable. He's 7/10 down on his provisional best time. Traverspor at the moment lies in P3. We have Labib 12 with invalidated lap time, so he's not going to trouble the Aston Martin. It seems like Trabzonspor registering a lap time on this latest push lap that brings him near enough neck and neck with Heist Excel. The exact same lap time between these two, Heist Excel improving but not past Trabzonspor. Marino in the sister McLaren now starting a lap time. He nestles inside the top 10. He will look to further increase his strongholds, his authority within these competitive positions. But Logan through the middle sector, going wide, cutting the corner. So that is not going to reward him with an improvement on this lap. Rigraff, though, in the Alfa Romeo, with 2/3 of this track completed on this latest attempt. It's an improvement by, well, 8/10 through the first two sectors. So the Alfa Romeo seeking an improvement, looking to climb up the leaderboards with a Haas almost getting in his way. Thankfully, he's ghosted out of the way. Is that going to put Rigraff off? It may have done, but it brings him to the top 3. A speedy and slick lap for the most part for the Alfa Romeo. Provisionally gives him P3, but his teammate immediately displaces him. So Alfa Romeo locking out the second row for the moment. While then, with his teammate disqualified from qualifying, the hopes of Red Bull lie upon Wyl's shoulders in this qualifying session, a track which Red Bull historically have reigned supreme at. Wins in 2017, 2018 and 2021 only gives light to that, as Wyle improving or registering a lap time that's good enough for 3rd place, a quarter of a second behind Matt Bell, and that brings the Bull into action, sparked it into life. And we have a name that is not to be ignored. Labib, seemingly, no, he's not on a push lap, although he passes his teammates. So we have the two Ferraris now out on track, pushing like hell, looking to improve up the leaderboards, looking to show their hand. Doesn't seem like Cushy's going to be able to do that through the stadium section. It was not particularly healthy. He remains P9, so his teammate Leo Kritis, who has found time through the first sector, is tackling his Ferrari chassis through the S's and on towards the end of the second sector. You can see there over 2/10 of an improvement. He lies just south of a second behind now Tom Clark's pace, so the Williams on provisional pole now. So Leo Kritis, can he get anywhere near that as he reaches the line? It is the 4th row for the Ferrari, but back to Tom Clark. That is a lap time. For all the effort that he's put in, it has given him the slenderest of advantages, but it is an advantage nonetheless. With just over 4 minutes left of this qualifying session, the baton has been passed to the Williams of Tom Clark. The speed is there, he has shown that. And Williams that have surfaced beyond agony in the past few years in real life Formula 1 in the hands of ZRL competitors. They are coming back, and they are coming back to the top. But Matt Bell says here the graphics aren't exactly helpful in this moment in time as Cushy improves to the top 5. So we'll just stay with the Mercedes then. Seems like this is not going to be a lap that brings him pole position. Maybe that was an outlap. I'm not too sure. These graphics are rather irking me. But Leo Kritis, this is not going to be a lap time that seeks an improvement. So we cut to Matt Bell through the first 3 corners, running the margins just so fine. The silver arrow under the blistering sun here in Mexico City through the first sector sets a purple first sector. Two drivers, two teams dueling for supremacy around Mexico City, with fervent fever rising beyond the surface. With excitement, with precision, with perfection to be found, Matt Bell doing absolutely everything to find it, but running wide through the end of the S's section, through the exit of turn 11, and the initiative lies with Tom Clark. The Silver Arrow severs its latest attempt. He will come into the pits, will Matt Bell. Just about gets it stopped in time to avoid a grid penalty. But Tom Clark, who seized provisional pole, keeps provisional pole. But with just moments to go, with just a mere few tours of challenge to be completed, who can rein him in? Weil in the Red Bull. With his teammate leading the championship, he knows Red Bull adorns success in Zoom Racing League in this X division. But can Weil replicate that success on his side of the garage into turn 1, into turn 2, then into turn 3? Riding the curves there, the rear end. It was Weil there on the exit of turn 3, as that curtailed him going into turn 4 and clearing the end of the first sector. It has by half a tenth. He is shy of his provisional best time. The track is at its most grippy, so this is where you would expect the ultimate laps to come about. Weil searching for that grip, seeking that time, and wanting that lap so very much, keeping it within track limits. And you can see there through the middle sector, finding an improvement, but he's still down, is the Red Bull, into the stadium section that cheer on Red Bull courtesy of their hometown hero in Sergio Perez. It is Weil taking over the reins of Perez, and it is Weil who initially sat P4, remains P4. That first sector really did cost him. And it's over to his competitors, his peers, his nemesis in this session. Cushy, currently P5, the Ferrari is having one of his best qualifying sessions of the season so far through the Peraltada. Reaching the line. So it seems like he is now on the push lap. Again, these graphics not helping that much. But Matt Bell, who was on pole position just minutes ago, has seen the pendulum swing back and forth. He's not going to improve. He hasn't reached the line in time. So Tom Clark still holds the initiative. He still clings on to pole position. Matt Bell will not displace him. They did not reach the checkered flag. A misjudgment, a miscalculation may have cost them both so very much. Rigraff charging through the middle sector now in the Alfa Romeo. What does this look like for the Alfa Romeo? It looks speedy. You can see from 5th down to 9th. It is fiercely competitive, but who can reign supreme in that battle? We have a Haas of, I think, Logan bringing out the yellow flags through the middle sector, but our concentration focuses upon Rigraff and his improvement to the 3rd row. Cushy is not going to improve. His lap is erased of memory, is erased of existence, so he remains P6. He will not be displaced by the drivers around him. So then, after missing the flag, after a mere misjudgment, it is still Tom Clark on pole position. For the long absence of Formula 1 in Mexico, it was the Williams of Nigel Mansell who set the last ever pole position around Mexico City of the 20th century. But in Zoom Racing League, Williams are back and back, showing their promise around this track. So there you have it, ladies and gentlemen. After such a tight qualifying session where multiple favourites fell by the wayside, it is Tom Clark who will start from the very front. So then, there we have it. Tom Clark starting from pole position for Williams, closely followed by Matt Bell and Technic Speedy in P3. And then you can see the rest of the qualifying leaderboard. Of course, Dublin, our championship leader by 89 points. With 4 races to go, he can mathematically win the title today. But that is going to be, well, a very, very big ask from here. Of course, Dublin winning the championship would be, like I said, quite unrealistic, regardless of if he somehow won this race. But this is Zoom Racing League. It delivers drama. It absorbs mayhem. And that mayhem will be shown here around Mexico City. We will have, of course, 36 laps ahead of us. I'm pretty sure it's 36. But like I said, we've had so much drama. We have invested in so much drama in Zoom Racing League X Division. There is more to be had. So make sure you stay with us and enjoy the entertainment we are going to deliver. With the clock ticking down, with the race start nearing, the Mexico City Grand Prix here in Zoom Racing League X Division will just about come about. The drivers then ready to get going on this formation lap. And as Tom Clark pulls away, let's have a look at the strategy choices. The front row, both starting from the hard compound tyres, they are looking to extend their stint, the first stint, longer into the race and possibly put on the medium tyres later on. Then we have the second row and half of the third row on medium compound tyres, and with the long run towards turn 1, that is going to be such a super battle to be had. Then we have Cushy down to Leo Kritis on the hard compound tyres, 6th down to 9th, Heist Excel in 10th on the mediums, SFL Dan in 12th on the mediums, and 11th, 13th, 14th, 15th and 16th all on the hard. So no one choosing the softs, no one choosing for that initial grip off the line, particularly in that second phase of the start. And with the long run to turn 1, getting not just an adequate start, but a very good start is going to be critical. You do not want to be swamped by your competitors. You do not want to be losing places when it could really damage your race. No one can win a race on lap 1, but you can certainly lose it. We have learned so many times in the past how that has been written for many drivers, and for every driver on the grid. They hope that fortune will not fall upon them. But through the Peril Tarda, Tom Clark leading the pack. We have a couple of drivers disqualified from the formation lap. Wow, that's a violent spin for Tom Clark. As he approaches the grid, those tyres are going to be complaining. Those tyres are going to be, well, not helping him off the line. He is on the hard, so you wouldn't expect him to get the best start possible. But that spin is going to damage his chances yet more. Seems like Dublin, the last driver on the road, joining us on the grid. So then, we have our drivers on the grid. That is a terrific camera angle, isn't it? But we have the lights about to come on for the drivers. We have 36 laps of what could be a mesmeric Grand Prix around Mexico to be had. And we are racing around Mexico City. Who can get the best start possible? The front row pulling away well, but Rick Raffle, that is a massive coming together on the start-finish straight. Tom Clark holding on to the lead. Rig Raffo is troubling him. The Alfa Romeo on the medium compound tyres, lightning starts off the grid, but the McLaren of Heist Excel troubling him going into turn 1. The Alfa Romeo then slots in behind the Williams. You can see the McLaren of Heist Excel still troubling Rig Raff, with Technic Speedy waiting in the wings, but while not getting the best start possible. It seems like Drunk Sigs joins that pack as well as Marino. But you can see there, due to Rig Raff's start on the medium compound tyres, there was a coming together, and that caused multiple spin on the straight, and that Zux in the Aston Martin spinning around off the exit of turn 5. We have FL Dan and Marino going side by side with the Alpine advancing ahead, and Tom Clark, our pole sitter, who held on to the lead, who was impervious to early pressure, who dealt with what may have caved him in through the middle sector of the first lap, has thrown it away. It was wonder for Williams in qualifying. It's dismay on the first lap of this Mexico City Grand Prix, and how the landscape of this race has just changed. Heist XL leading this race then, and you can see there all that's Leo Crichton through the Peraltada spinning. We also have Logan having problems through the final corner, but we have Heist XL in the McLaren leading this race. And he has gained 9 places on the first lap, as is a simply epic opening lap to his race. And you may not see a better start than that in Zoom Racing League this season. But our pole sitter, Tom Clark, running now at the rear of the field. That is a truly gut-wrenching moment, a truly horrible mistake to be had, and it is going to bite him hard. Still a long way from here. You know how we talked about throwing it away at the start of the race, and Heist XL is the latest driver to be added to that list. 2 drivers crashing out from the lead in the first 2 laps. Melodrama in Mexico. Madness, mayhem in Mexico. This is pondering with rationality. This is flirting with logic. This is Zoom Racing League delivering dumbfounding drama. 2 race leaders have fallen by the wayside. 2 drivers that chanced success. 1 driver is far from that success. 1 driver is severed from it. This is unbelievable. The safety car, of course, the virtual safety car, my apologies, now deployed. So timing this safety car restart is going to be imperative. It's a matter of pass or be passed. But Rig Raff now leads the race. Will it be 3rd time lucky for one of our race leaders? Or is Technic Speedy going to punish the Alfa Romeo? We have Drapersport in 3rd, Matt Vell in 4th, Labide in 5th ahead of Cushy, who's aced the restart. Technic Speedy still hot on the heels of Rig Raff. DRS is enabled, and he is closing in on the Alfa Romeo. 2 different race leaders in the first 2 laps, and 2 race leaders crashing out of the lead in the first 2 laps. Rig Raff not adding his name to that list, but he's really losing the rear end. Technic Speedy giving the Alfa Romeo a tap through the stadium section. They progress to the start-finish straight now, off of the exit of Peraltada, with DRS now enabled. What does the AlphaTauri do? Is he going to chance a move past Rig Raff? With DRS, with Slipstream, and with surely the lead, the AlphaTauri to the outside of turn 1. Rig Raff cannot defend from that. The speed down the straight was truly peerless, and eclipsed any kind of defence Rig Raff had. So now let's make that 4 leaders in the first 4 laps of this race, as Heist XL leaving the session after obviously crashing out from the lead. Tom Clark publishing the paciest lap of this race so far. But Technic Speedy now, can he romp away from a DRS threat from behind? Remember, he has a time penalty, I believe, for track limits. Or is Rig Raff going to keep within 1 second of technical speeding and really prove a problem to the Alpha Tauri. We have Dravaspor and Matt Vell. Oh, technical speeding! Can you believe it? Drama. Unbelievable drama coming about here in Mexico City. 3 race leaders relinquishing the lead through a mistake as Dravaspor now being passed by Matt Vell. The Mercedes climbing up into second place as Cushy and Labide into turn 1. The Ferrari just about ahead. We have the 2 Red Bulls now side by side, but this is truly fictional. The drama, truly staggering. What will be written next? How? Just how? We wait and we wonder what drama is going to be restored to this stage. We've had enough of it already, but long let it rain. Oh, there's Cushy spinning! A tally of mistakes abroad and noticeable. Cushy, carrying the weight of Ferrari history on the livery of that car, crumbles through the S's section of the track. He loses the rear, he spins around as Logan now losing a front wing in the Haas, spinning through the same corner that Cushy did, through the same corner that Tom Clark did earlier in this race. And Drunk X6, that's 2 Haases within the space of 20 seconds, spinning and losing places. Where next? Who next? Zoom Racing League is investing in insanity. But for all the attrition, let's focus on some racing action. Marino right ahead of SFL Dan, racing towards turn 4. The Alpine as late on the brakes as you could possibly dream of, but the McLaren of Marino still holding on to that place by the skin of his teeth. But the Alpine teased the move into turn 4, but the McLaren of Marino had the perfect response. So Rigrath leading for Alfa Romeo. He has Matt Vell within a second of him. Dravaspor in third, but we're still focused on this battle between Marino and SFL Dan. The McLaren running ahead of the Alpine, but losing the rear slightly through the staging section. That will give the Alpine an incentive, and again the McLaren struggles. He is not at one with that car, whether it is his tyres or his confidence. It is lacking, and the Alpine looks to seize the advantage down the start-finish straight. With DRS in action, he sweeps past Marino. Blue eclipses orange in this battle, and SFL Dan now runs inside the top 5 as Dublin and Cushy going side by side. It seems like Logan again spinning, again losing a front wing, and again incurring damage to his racers. Wild, troubling Marino going into turn 4. The McLaren getting out wide. Can the Red Bull spot an opportunity and progress past into turn 6, side by side, as close as you could get? But Wild tries to show the McLaren the door, and they're going to continue on this battle until Wild asserts his authority in 6th place. Marino gave it everything in 2 battles on this lap, but both of them have been ones that he has had to relinquish and he has had to concede. So Wild can now focus on SFL Dan ahead, and he will be within DRS on the next tour of this Autodromo Hermanos Rodriguez circuit. We ride on board with Wild, then the Red Bull, the Bull, looking, penetrating through that Alpine ahead of him. The occupation of 5th place for Dan is one that's dangling, and one that Wild wants to recognise. He will have DRS on the charge towards turn 4, It seems like he's got a healthy exit off of turn 3. Within DRS, within millimetres of the Alpine now. This battle into turn 4 is one that sees the Red Bull charge around the outside. Is he going to progress past? Dan trying to fight it away from the Red Bull. But that is a move from Weil which eclipses the dauntless defence from Dan. And the Red Bull, the Bull, showing its aggression, showing its bullishness with a supreme move around the outside of turn 4. This race for Logan just gets worse and worse. Again, once more, he is without a front wing. So the Haas in 15th, a long way from his competitors ahead, is, well, staring down misery in this race. But Matt Bell is coming alive now. These hard compound tyres coming alive. Rig Raff's lead is being reduced, is being eaten into. It seems like Matt Bell in the Merc is growing larger and larger in his mirrors. Weil isn't able to race away from Dan as of yet. After a supreme move on this part of the track last lap, he runs in P5, but only just the rear end's getting away from the Red Bull, but it's not bringing the Alpine into play. The stadium section with Rig Raff still leading, but with Matt Vell still in the battle. They will continue on to lap 10 of 36 here in Mexico City. Matt Vell really struggling off of the Peraltada. That drops him a distance behind Rig Raff and means that the Alfa Romeo can breathe and breathe once more. We see insane speeds, truly demonstrable speeds down this start-finish straight, such as the length of this start-finish straight and how thin the air is, cutting the drag. Seems like Logan again. This race does not get any easier for the Haas. He wounds his front wing and he drops down the order, and so too does Marino in the McLaren. Seems like off of the exit of turn 3, he's lost the rear and has lost his place in competitive running. So Weil, SFL Dan, their battle becomes one of 2 instead of one of 3. Cushy gets past him, Dublin gets past him, Zux gets past him, Leo Kritis looks to get past him. As you can see, SFL Dan bashing the wall, bashing the barrier, and coming oh so close to the conclusion of his race. This really is a race of attrition here in Mexico City. It is still Rig Raff leading, and he has made 0 mistakes out in front, but those medium compound tyres may start to wear out a bit. Then down the start finish straight, Dublin running ahead of SFL Dan. Remember Dublin, his car has been rather ghosted. So let's continue with the battle for the leaders. SFL Dan passing Dublin. These two separated by just under a second. And the Silver Arrow looking to shine beneath the stifling sun here in Mexico City. Rig Raff holding on to a lead, a precious lead, but Matt Vell looks to penetrate through it. Into the stadium section for the 11th time in this Grand Prix. The Mercedes really struggling with understeer. That drops him momentarily outside a second behind Rig Raff, but he gains back the time through the Peraltada, and when he comes to the DRS detection point, he will see the rear wing opening. This is one of the trickier passes to place on the Formula 1 calendar, despite the long start-finish straight. Maxwell looks to dispute and dispel that claim. Can he do it on this lap? It seems like through the first couple of corners, he got a very good ride, but not one to trouble the Alfa Romeo. And let's turn our attention to the man who started this race from pole. A man who was hit with despair, hit with dejection, but arrives at the apex of turn 1 with a top 10 place. Tom Clark rising into the top 10, and on lap 12 of 36, a third of this race has gone by. It seems like Tom Clark is seeking a race revive. Where will that revive lead him? We will have to see. Flags as Logan, and it seems like the Haas, who has crashed so many times in this race, has had one crash too many, and the conclusion of his race has been found. So the safety car, the full safety car this time, has been deployed, and that means the fields can finally stack up amongst one another. As Tom Clark, I was talking about a race revive that he was seeking, he has now earned himself a drive-through penalty due to speeding under the safety car, as now some of the drivers take a chance to pit while pitting, cushy pitting to the soft compound tyres. He is going to be a force to be reckoned with at this safety car restart. But we're a third of the way through this Grand Prix, and it is Rigraff leading, but some competitors will be arriving in his mirrors, and some competitors will look to steal the prize off him. So from the lead, Rigraff pits. That's going to work against him, as drivers that have already made their pit stops may jump ahead of the Alfa Romeo. Drunk Eggs now retiring from the race. That means 2 Haas cars are on the sidelines, but Cushy ahead of Rigraff, while ahead of Rigraff. So the man that was leading this race has dropped down the order and may have just seen his race turn. Tremblingly turn. That gives Matt Bell the lead of the race. So the Merc leading out in front under the safety car, with Traversport now in second. Rev Levive third, Dublin in fourth. That is quite a stupefying return after a qualifying nightmare, which saw him disqualified from qualifying. So then, if you have just joined us for this Mexico City Grand Prix, thank you so very much for your company, and I hope we are repaying you with some enthralling entertainment. We have seen positions being swapped, we have seen leads being changed from the very first lap. We have seen twists and turns being had, and as we approach lap 15 of 36, we have Matt Bell leading for Mercedes. Dublin getting into some kind of, not trouble, but seems like he's passing and being passed by others under the safety car, which is obviously prohibited. But Dublin now down in P5 behind his teammates Wilde. And the Red Bull of Wilde, the lead driver who has made a pit stop, he may just fancy his chances in this race. Cushy momentarily passes Dublin. That glitched Red Bull is causing a problem or two, but we now have most of our drivers within formation. We have Technic Speedy catching this pack up, and we have 3 drivers on the sidelines. Heist Excel crashed out of the lead on lap 2 of this race. Then Logan Drunk X6 retiring in 2 separate incidents within moments of each other. It was the Logan crash that has brought out the safety car, and Matt Vell, after inheriting the leaders, Rick Raff pitted, he has Drubbersport right on his heels. I would expect the safety car to come in at the conclusion of this lap, and indeed it does then. So we will be racing in just a few moments' time. And for a safety car leader at the end of this safety car period, this may just be a nightmare for Matt Bell. Such a long straight to make a pass so early on this lap. He is going to have to be pinpoint perfect on the throttle, or he will be engulfed by his competitors. He arrives at the Heraldtada. When does he choose to race away? I think he's picked his moments, and Drubbersport reining him in, but Levi 12 also getting a very healthy start. Wild though, rocketing past the Alfa Romeo. He's immediately up into the podium places. These have been a fanciful past few laps for the Red Bull. Can he improve even more, even further? With Dublin and Levi going side by side. Of course, the Red Bull's car has been ghosted. But we have now Leo Crichton and Tom Clark battling away the Ferrari around the outside of turn 2 into turn 3, progressing ahead of Tom Clark. Super sharp, super smooth, and that brings him 10th place as Rig Raff passing the vibe, while passing Drubbersport. It has been the safety car restart of dreams. These hard compound tyres of Wild are pumping and pushing beyond his competitors. And he is seeking the race lead, and he is seeking a race win, which just a few laps ago seemed improbable. Rig Raff troubling Drubbersport. Old tyres versus new tyres. It seems like Tom Clark hitting the wall. It seems into turn 9. So the man that started this race from pole has had a Grand Prix from hell ever since. But the drivers in formation looking to make an impression on one another on the next lap. Down the start-finish straights, Wild is going to be one of them, it seems, within the tow of Matt Bell. What can he do going into turn 1? Rig Raff is oh so close to Drubbersport. They're going to run side by side on board with the Alfa Romeo's front wing. The existence of Drubbersport, of him running ahead of the Alfa Romeo, is a distant memory now as SFL Dan retiring from this race. And that brings out the safety car once more. So after a hectic few laps, Matt Bell leads, and still leads, but Wild, after a very promising showing on younger hard tyres, now runs in 2nd place. So the second safety car period of this race already. We're just lurking towards halfway distance. But my oh my, the landscape of this race changes time and again and again and again. We wonder who it falls before next. So Matt Bell from the lead, pitting to get rid of his hard compound tyres putting on the mediums though. So he will think to get to the end of the race on those medium compound tyres. He's been joined in the pits by Drabaspor, Leo Kritos. Seems like they've all both pitted to the medium compound tyres. Zux getting rid of his broken front wing, serving a time penalty. It seems 3 seconds, and putting on some soft compound tyres. So it's now Wild leading from Cushing. If we look at where they are compared to where they started this race from, it is a serious upturn in form for Wild, for Cushing, who have improved noticeably in this race. Dublin, of course, gaining so many places. The championship leader, not necessarily preserving the points lead as much as it's been injured slightly. He's still in the box seat. Tom Clark as well. What a hellish race this has been for him. And of course we have our 4 retirements from the race so far. Dan Drunk X6, Logan and Heist XL. We have just passed half distance in the Mexico City Grand Prix, with Wild leading ahead of Cushy. This safety car restart, this strategy has proved sharp enough for the Red Bull to lie in the lead. Cushy second, Rigraff third, Technic Speedy ahead of Matt Bell. So the Merc not losing too many places. Remembering on those medium compound tyres versus Wild hards, that may just be the battle for the race victory, that Technic Speedy and Rigraff and Cushy lie between them, and they will be pacing. And you can see the fervent Mexican crowd in the grandstands, who were without a Grand Prix in 2020. But since last year, we have realised and relived their amicable or inspiring enthusiasm for Formula One and its heroes. Checo Perez is the driver that they invest their intrigue with. Wild has taken that seat, and he is delivering on behalf of the Mexican crowd's favourite. So for at least one more lap we will run. Oh, maybe not. Safety car pulling in so very late, so the reins being handed over to Wild, with Cushy on soft compound tyres looking to close him in. They're going to battle down the start-finish straight with Wild spinning. The battle that could have been, the battle that will not be. And it seems like we've had a crash into the final couple of corners. Madness in Mexico once more. This is incalculable drama being realised. Tom Clark rising up into the top 4 out of absolutely nowhere. We have Levibe, Matt Bell and Drabaspor igniting in battle. But that is another episode of dumbfounding drama. You can see Matt Bell losing the rear. Drabaspor will not punish him for that little flick of the rear. But out of absolutely nowhere, we have a new race leader. We have positions being changed. And we have Cushy in the Ferrari in the lead. He races away from Rigraff on his soft compound tyres. And if he can publish competitive lap times on these soft compound tyres, he can pit and still re-emerge in the race in a very healthy position. Oh, the twists, the turns on this Mexico City stage have been truly something. As you can see, Matt Bell taking a place on the bye. So Matt Bell up into the top 5, running wide there. As it is, and the vibe getting also very close to tapping Matt Bell. who will blink next? Who will seize the initiative? You can see Tom Clark trying to get out of the tow from Matt Bell behind, but the Mercedes is charging down the start-finish straight. Even without DRS, he is troubling the Williams as they race on towards turn 1. Matt Bell improves up to 4th place and demotes Tom down into 5th. Revive will look to join this battle. Marino right behind Draverspor. It's a battle from 4th down to 9th at the moment between these drivers. It seems like into turn 4 nobody is able to make a move. So Cushy now leads by over 2 seconds on these soft compound tyres. They are holding up well, but we know with 15.5 laps to go, there is just no way the Ferrari will be seeing the end of the race on those tyres. As Leo Kreitis retiring from the race, I suspect that is from earlier damage, which proves irrevocable to the grip and the performance he will have, so he discontinues in the action. It is the stadium section on board with Draverspor, Levive not at 1 with his Alfa Romeo, but DRS will now be enabled on this lap. Let's see if any driver can utilise its effect to gain a position perhaps. Flags out on the track. It seems like Leo Kreitis' Ferrari pulls to one side. There's Levive chancing a move to the inside of Tom Clark. Contact between the pair, but who will emerge ahead? The Williams putting down the power off of the exit of turn 3, racing away from Levive. He has an answer to the first question Levive asked, but boy did that get close. On board with the Alfa Romeo once more. He's chanced a move, he will chance another, but only if he has that opportunity. He needs to stick with the Williams through the tight and twisty middle sector, but with his younger, softer tyres, you'd hope, or he would hope, that he can trouble Tom ahead, but for the moment, doesn't seem like he's able to. Tom running a super and stellar recovery after running at the back. So we have Cushy leading ahead of Rigraff, Wild 3rd, Matt Bell 4th, Tom 5th, Levive 6th ahead of Draverspor and Zux Aston Martin 7th and 8th in this race, with Dublin 9th and Technic Speedy in 10th. So DRS drivers are able to use it now down the start finish straight. Is anyone able to make good use of it, powering on towards turn 1? It doesn't seem so, but battles will certainly be reignited off the exit of turn 3. As Tom Clark looked to have a battle, he's lost it. He's lost the car, he's lost the rear, and he's lost the chance to duel with the drivers that look to pounce upon him. That is just horrible for Tom Clark, and it's harrowing for Cushy. Catastrophe for the Ferrari. Endless drama. Limitless. An abundance of despair for those that have run at the front, those that have defended, those who have looked to reign supreme around Mexico. Unbridled entertainment. The pendulum swings again. Rigraff once more leads this race. Wild runs second, but with Matt Bell staring him down. Going into turn 1, the Mercedes still runs behind the Red Bull. He looks to get a solid exit off of turn 3. Draverspor still behind Levive. But off of the exit of turn 3, Wild can see the threat that Matt Bell poses. They're going to battle on into turn 4, but with the Red Bull still ahead, and with the Mercedes still looking to pounce. So Cushy re-emerges in this race in P9. And that may be the most sour, the most stupefying twist, where it was least expected. Where a driver looked the most serene. The Ferrari has lost the lead, a precious lead. And the misery of the Tifosi is conspicuous. While still defending from Max Verstappen, again the Mercedes will have DRS. Again, he will have a chance to improve to second place down the start-finish straight, while looking to perhaps get out of the slipstream, but he knows with how powerful the DRS is. Max Verstappen, I thought he was thinking about to move into turn 1. He thought about it again, and through the exit of turn 3, pins down the throttle, but again, Weil still runs ahead with the rear wing open. Max Verstappen seeking the inside line, but he's just not late enough on the brakes, and he spins, making contact with Weil. A battle he looked to win is a battle that evolves and drifts towards the Red Bull of Weil. Lap 25 of 36. This is well. This is rather nonplussing here in Mexico. How many times, just how many times have we seen the chances, the possibilities in this race swing profoundly? Rigraff feels the presence of the pendulum sweeping towards him. Can he hold on? Weil, with a time penalty, also lies 3 seconds behind. The Alfa Romeo looks to hold his nerve out in front. It's a 1-4 for Alfa Romeo. What a day they are having in the Mexico sun. Just over 10 laps to go. There are still battles to be decided. And you can see Max Verstappen almost within half a second of Weil. The hard compound tyres on Weil's Red Bulls wearing thin of performance. Through the Peraltada onto the start-finish straight. Max Verstappen has had multiple opportunities to progress past the Red Bull. Is this a chance he will not leave unhinged down the start-finish straight with DRS? He draws level with the Red Bull into turn 1. Weil, though, has a response around the outside. When the Mercedes look to pass, Weil just doesn't give in, but he may have to now. As through the exit of turn 2, he spins, and so too does Labai. Pair of them losing the width of the rear and relinquish prominence, relinquish points, and perhaps, crucially, may relinquish positions for the podium. So Max Verstappen is left on his own to charge and charge down Rigraff. A gap that stems at 4 seconds, a gap he looks to eat into, and a win that may beckon. He has 9 laps to close in on the race leader and enjoy success around the Autodromo Hermanos Rodriguez. Zux is closing in on Weil. The performance of those hard compound tyres just disappearing now from the Red Bull's grasp. And he is under fierce pressure from Zux behind. They will race on towards turn 4 with a glitter of green in the mirrors of the Red Bull. Technic Speedy, of course, also in this fight, but while Zux and Technic Speedy, all three of them do have a time penalty to their name and a time penalty to be served. The checkered flag. Drabaspor will join that list with a time penalty as a consequence of track limit violations. But as Zux flicks his green machine into the stadium section with an expectant Mexican crowd of entertainment, well, they haven't been disappointed, have they? Since the very first turns of this Grand Prix, this has been a treat. Such a delectable treat. But it's not over yet. Matt Vale really eating into the deficit he once had to Rigraph. It's now at 2.5 seconds when it was once at nearly 5. He passed Weil. It was about 4.5 seconds behind. He was left on his own to chase down the Alfa Romeo. And success nears. It nears for the Mercedes. Weil still defending from Zux on lap 29 of 36 of this Grand Prix. Seems like we have yellow flags. Out on the track! Oh no! Matt Vale. The silver arrow severs. A chance of success severs. Ignition and hope erased. Rigraph now in a land of prominence, in a land of significance, all on his own. He leads by over 5.5 seconds, and perhaps his most profound challenger has also fallen. How this track bites, how this track challenges, and how the Autodromo Hermanos Rodriguez sides down layers and depths of drama. And to add to the Mercedes' wounds, Matt Vale now has a time penalty to his name. Oh, how it can so quickly get away from you, as we have learnt just so many times in this race. The comforts never shines through when the dejection is that much more noticeable. So then, if we just quickly have a look at the penalties, so second down to fourth, Drabaspor, Weil and Zux all on 3-second time penalties. Matt Vale also on a 3-second time penalty. Technic Speedy, he's on a 6-second time penalty, so he's not out of this battle, but the chance and favours lie against him. But here's Matt Vale closing in on Technic Speedy. They're going to battle into turn 1. The Mercedes so very late on the brakes, but the AlphaTauri moved into his mirrors, as you can see. Zux losing the rear through the exit to turn 3. Matt Vale, Technic Speedy, both progressed past him. So it's left for Weil to run in third, behind Drabaspor, ahead of Matt Vale, and with Technic Speedy in P5. Oh, what a race. What a race. You run out of superlatives, you really do. Just confounding drama. Nothing more, nothing less. And the Mexican crowd have been treated to a classic. The Peraltada for Technic Speedy. He's about 0.7 of a second behind. Matt Vell. Down the start-finish straight. He's not close enough to make an impression. Into turn 1. Their battle. Can it be one? Into turn 4 on this lap. The AlphaTauri can see the rear end getting away from him slightly. We have just under 5 more laps to go here in Mexico City, and Tom Clark will hope it is less, to be quite frank. He spins once more, and after starting from pole, after setting the pace in qualifying, supremacy and success could not be further away for the Williams. A race to ponder what could have been, but that could be the case for so many drivers that ran in promising positions. Heist, XL, Tom Clark, Cushy, Weil, Matt Vell, and the list just goes on. As you can see, yellow flag being brought out. Don't know why, but the safety car now out. Tom Clark retiring from the race. Is that the safety car, or that's just the virtual safety car now? I thought we were in for a ridiculous ending, to be quite frank, to this race, but the virtual safety car being deployed. With 4 more laps of this race, Rigraff still leading, Draversport closing in, but they should be rather equidistant to one another in terms of pace, or in terms of gap. You see Matt Vell really putting on the brakes, Technic Speedy having to avoid making contact with him. It seems like he's avoiding just about for the moment. Perhaps this race will soon resume, as we have hopefully 3 laps of green flag action. And we are back underway here in Mexico City. Technic Speedy dueling with Matt Vell into the staging section with the Mercedes just about ahead. But the AlphaTauri looking for a gap around the outside. Can't spot it though. The door shut just as the AlphaTauri thought it had opened. But down the start-finish straight with DRS now enabled. Can the AlphaTauri rein the Mercedes in permanently? With the rear wing wide open, with the Mercedes growing larger, Technic Speedy still in 5th place and is still unable to challenge the driver ahead. Draversport is eaten into the gap of Rigraff, but remember his 3-second time penalty kind of dispels his charge, but if Rigraff was to earn a time penalty himself, well, how the complexion of this race ending would shift. Two more tours left for Rigraff of this Mexico City Grand Prix. 2 tours to nudge towards race victory. What can be decided in these final couple of laps? Draversport only just ahead of Weil. Matt Vell just about ahead of Technic Speedy with Zux waiting in the wings. But as we near the race conclusion, we have a look at who we think are the drivers of the day. Rigraff in a race of attrition has really held his own. He hasn't been the quickest at points, but he has kept it on the island. He has escaped damage. And it was that lightning start as well, which really gave him a chance. And my oh my, how he has seized that chance. Draversport started from the 4th row. He runs in the podium places while gaining a place. Matt Vell and Technic Speedy both losing places compared to where they started. But Dublin, who's AI is really taken over in this race. The fact he's still running in the top 7 just illustrates the pure drama we have invested in this race. But for the final lap of this race, Rigrath, well, his lead doesn't look as ominous, but he's been in control. And we do start the final lap of the race with Labib in the Alfa Romeo spinning out as he loses touch further with the drivers ahead. But with DRS with Technic Speedy, can he battle past Matt into turn 1? I don't think he's able to. But you can see that the Mercedes really not executing the racing line, running wide through the exit of turn 3, and actually pulling away slightly from the AlphaTauri. But with DRS, Technic Speedy looks to close in into turn 4. He still is just too far behind, while still closing in on Traversport. Zverev flags out in Sector 1 once more, while actually having a 6-second time penalty, so he will drop out of the podium places behind Matt Vale. But the stifling sun shines a light, and it shines a light on Rigrath. In a race of confounding drama, of pure amazement, he has had to keep his head, he has had to be balanced, and he had to be brilliant, and brilliant is what he was. He crosses the line to win in Mexico City, and the podium and the celebrations lie beneath his brilliance. Alfa Romeo victorious around the Autodromo Hermanos Rodriguez. It's their day. It is their day under the sun. With a crowd that have been treated to an all-time classic in Zoom Racing League, they celebrate and they crown their race winner. Cushy actually progressing past Labib to the Alfa Romeo. This Alfa Romeo has had the most hellish conclusion to the race, to a race he could have ever expected. As Cushy finishes P8, Labib finishes in P9. But it's success. It is success for Alfa Romeo, courtesy of Rigrath, and that draws to a close a truly epic race. So then, ladies and gentlemen, thank you so very much for your company on this Saturday in September. And when Formula 1 does return to Mexico City in about a month's time, let's hope it can abstain the drama that has been delivered here in Zoom Racing League. Make sure you return when we return, for when this X division stupefies once more. But as we see our final scenes on the podium to this epic event, we ponder the magnificence of the Mexico City Grand Prix. Thank you all so very much for your company, and until next time, goodbye.